Good morning, children. Welcome to our online class, 10th standard, first language English. Today, we'll go through this non-detail. That's the first lesson, Treasure Island. So it is already in non-detail only because you have to read and understand. So that's why we give the story page by page. And this is written by Robert Louis Stevenson. The original novel, the romance, was written by Robert Louis Stevenson. It's a lifetime 1850 to 1894. A gifted storyteller. He wrote several travel stories and well-loved novels like Kidnapped, The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, The Black Arrow, etc. It is said that a Treasure Island was written for amusement of his 12-year-old stepson. This simplified and abridged story would surely encourage you to read the much more entertaining original novel. So, but this Robert Louis Stevenson, it's a beautiful this story happening where on the sea only. That is, this novel is written in 1881. It is set in the days of sailing ships and pirates. Those days, they were sailing then to discover new places and to find some treasure. So this is also one of the story like that only, that is sailing, the days of sailing ships and the pirates, and tells the adventures of Jim Hawkins and his search for the buried treasure of an evil pirate, Captain Flint. And now the story starts. Jim Hawkins, the father and mother, kept the Admiral Benbow Inn, which was the only building in a lonely cove in the west of England. So Billy, an old seafarer, he took up a room in Admiral Benbow, and his cherished possession was an old sea chest, which he guarded as a miser hoards his fortune. So Bill gave Jim 4 pence. For what? To be on the lookout for a sailor with one leg who might come to the inn. And during the evenings, Billy would sit in his corner of the bar drinking rum and singing 15 men on the dead man's chest, yo, 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 while daytime he was standing on the rocks looking nervously out to sea. See, children, this is a beautiful ship, that is Treasure Island ship. And several weeks after Billy's arrival, another mysterious man appeared. Not healthy, evil-looking fellow with 2 fingers missing. And he argued with Billy and started fighting furiously. And the stranger, he fled away wounded, and Billy was left gasping for breath on the floor. But Dr. Livesey, who came to treat Jim's ailing father, he treated Billy and warned him not to take any more rum. Next one, Billy called Jim to his side and said that he had been a member of Captain Flint's crew and would steal in old sea chest. Why? That his men are looking for him to steal his old sea chest. So he wanted to shift his place before they give the black spot. So black spot is nothing but a pirate's summon. So he had been a, because he was in the crew, then he was afraid that any time they may come for his sea chest. That night, Jim's father, that is, had died, and the same day, then he was laid to rest. A blind old pirate called Blind Pooh, he came to the Admiral Benbow, and Jim took him into the bar. That is, Blind Pooh gave the black spot to Bill's hand and left. But Billy died of a massive stroke, and his last words were, that is, the pirates would be upon him that same evening. He was expecting the pirates to come and fight with him for the sea chest. Then Jim and his mother, they were afraid. So then they were outrageous. Jim and that is and his mother. Then they were afraid and they thought that they would come means then they better see. That is, he had to pay them rent of the inn, and so they hurried and they took the sea chest and opened it to see what was there. And she took only the rent, and Jim took a bundle wrapped in a oilcloth. And Jim and his mother fled out into the night and hid. As Blind Pew and several pirates arrived and proceeded to ransack the inn. And they were outraged. That is, when they saw that his Billy's sea chest was missing. So they were sure that only Jim and his mother would have taken that. So they rushed to find out them. Suddenly, who came? Suddenly, revenue officers came, ridden down by several horsemen. Horsemen are nothing but revenue officers, and they came then to catch them, but they all left. That is into the pirate ship and moored, which was standing nearby, and the rest of the pirates had escaped. But Blind Pew, then he lay dead on the ground because he had been knocked down by one of the horses. So the next is Jim was taken to Squire Trelawney's house. Squire Trelawney, that is, and Dr. Livesey, both were local magistrates, and he was asked to be told all that happened that evening. So Jim had finished his story, and he produced the papers he had taken. So he was sure that those are the pirates are looking for that, and two men were in a agreement. So what happened? They were sure that that Captain Flint's treasure map only that was, and they hurriedly made plans. Squire Trelawney and Dr. Livesey hurriedly made plans for what? For a voyage to the island where the treasure lay buried. So what Jim? Jim was to be their cabin boy. Now the Squire Trelawney went to Bristol. He bought a fine schooner that is called the Hispaniola. So this is Hispaniola, and then so we're hiring a sea captain, and the ship's cook was to be one-legged old sailor called Long John Silver, and who had given Squire Trelawney that invaluable help in picking the rest of the crew. Now Jim and the doctor, they joined. That is the Squire Trelawney in the evening, and then they Before that, then they hired one apprentice to help his mother to run the Admiral Benbow. Then at first, Jim was thinking that whether the Long John Silver was the same man whom Billy used to tell about often, and that in that excitement he forgot everything, and he joined that is quiet learning. Then that ship was ready to leave. Captain Smollett was unhappy because everyone knew that they were sailing for a treasure only. So Squire Trelawney also admitted that he should have kept the promise. So he should have kept the secret, and he promised to keep the treasure map hidden from everyone. The next one is the Hispaniola now set sail. It was making excellent progress. This Hispaniola, then excellent progress. The sleek schooner then performed admirably even in heavy seas, and Captain Smollett had to agree that in spite of his misgivings, the crew would not be faulted. So that is moreover than each man went about his duty in good spirit, and none more than Long John Silver with his parrot, that is Captain Flint, on his shoulder, squawking pieces of eight. And so the voyage proceeded without a hitch. Now, but there was a treachery that is afoot. Some people were planning. Then, when Hispaniola, that is reaching its destination, Jim went looking for an apple to eat. Then, finding the apple barrel nearly empty, he climbed right into the barrel. While he was hidden in the barrel, he overheard a conversation between Long John Silver and the ship's coxswain, in which Silver boasted of the piracy and Captain Flint, who had died of drink, and of his plan to kill the skipper and the squire and doctor once the treasure was found. Then Jim was terribly afraid he would be found out. Just a cry rang out. They heard a cry that is the that roused the entire ship. It was so loud because they had sighted a land that is in the moonlight. So that's why there was a big cry, shouting. Then under Long John Silver's expert guidance, they had visited the island before on the trading ship, and the Hispaniola found a safe anchorage in an almost which side? South of the island. It found a safe anchorage. So Jim secretly warned Captain Smollett, the squire, and the doctor of Long John Silver's treacherous plan. The captain said, for the time being, they should pretend they knew nothing, as there are only 7 of the 26 people aboard the ship that they could rely upon. They could believe only 7 people, and the odds were then so sorted out against their survival. And Jim, he remarked what it had a, that is when he reached the treasure island, it had a brooding, that is a menacing air. And he didn't know about the treasure island more. So the doctor, it was he already noticed that the place was a malaria infected area. So now the ship was at a anchor. The crew became very agitated and surely, and then they some of the sailors, that is the Long John Silver, he took a party of sailors offshore, and six of them were left aboard to guard the ship, to keep an eye on the captain, and they were not included in the treacherous plot. But Captain Smollett took the rest of the day, that is off the day. They didn't go anywhere. And that is Jim, he hid himself in the boat that rowed as soon as the coast was clear, and he ran to nearby undergrowth, and he began to enjoy, that is a unfamiliar feeling of being all on his own. And he hid and watched. An hour later, he heard some voices. That is, Jim, he was surprised by the voices, and he saw Long John Silver trying to persuade a member of the crew to join the mutiny. When he refused, he drew a long knife and stabbed him in the back. So terrified Jim slipped away and ran for his life. Next one, he ran until his legs gave out. Then, when he stopped to catch his breath, he found himself facing a wild looking man, dressed all in rags. The poor Bengan, said the wild looking man, and I haven't spoken with a Christian these 3 years. So Bengan told him Bengan told Jim he had been on Captain Flint's ship when the treasure was buried. So the wicked pirate had taken his 6 men ashore with him to hide the booty and murdered them all. So its location remained a secret. Ben had returned on another ship to look for the treasure 3 years back, but when they could not find it, his shipmates left him marooned on the island. So in the meanwhile, what happened? The doctor, the squire, and the Captain Smollett, they also decided to go exploring. That is on the island to see. But they found, that is a stockade. When they were going through the island, they found a stockade, that is a sturdy log cabin with loopholes for muskets in its walls, protected by a perimeter fence of about a wooden railing that is 6 feet high. And they decided this was as good a place as any to make a stand against the pirates. So they hurried back to bring all the supplies from the Hispaniola to the stockade. While the squire's gamekeeper, Redruth, he kept the pirates at gunpoint. The captain and others made several journeys ashore from Hispaniola to the stockade with provisions, arms, and ammunition. They brought all the things from the ship to the stockade. On the final trip back to the stockade, the captain, the squire, and the doctor, along with those still loyal to them, were attacked by more of the pirates. And the pirates, they lost one dead and 2 more injured. But Redruth was also shot and died soon after. Now the pirates also retreated. That is a bombardment from the ship's cannon. But the stockade was out of the Hispaniola's sight. So the balls fell wide of their mark. It didn't attack Hispaniola. Now, Jim, then he was with the Bengun, and they were surprised to hear the sound of a distant cannon fire. So Jim told Bengun that about Long John Silver and the pirates, and asked him to go with him to find his friends. Then Ben shook his head. He said that he knew Long John Silver from way back when they were both members of Flint's crew, and added that if Jim's friends gave him a promise of a safe passage home, then he would help them. With that, he slipped away into the undergrowth. When evening fell, that is, yeah, and the pirates stopped their useless bombardment. Then Jim approached the stockade cautiously, but when he saw the Union Jack flying above it, he knew that it was his allies who occupied it. And Jim's friends are delighted to see him safe and sound, and amazed to hear about a Ben gun. The captain then told everyone it was time to sleep. So along with him, the squire and the doctor, they were just two more of the squire's men, plus one sailor who had remained loyal, six men and a boy, against the 15 pirates who still survived. So six men and a boy. And the next morning, Long John appeared where? At the stockade only. That is carrying a flag of truce. He offered to spare the defenders' lives if they gave him the treasure map. So he was demanding treasure map. Who? Long John Silver was demanding the treasure map. If he give the treasure map, he would leave them. And Captain Smollett refused to give, that is point blank, and saying the pirate's word was not worth a rotten ship's biscuit, and that they had no intention of giving up the treasure map anyway. So no sooner Long John Silver hobbled angrily away than the pirates attacked the stockade. They started attacking the stockade. The defenders retreated into the log cabin from which they exchanged musket fire with the pirates. But suddenly, what happened? Several attackers then swarmed over the perimeter fence. And two were shot down, one retreated, but four of them made it to the cabin wall where they were able to shoot in through the building's loopholes. At whom? At these uh, defenders. Retaining the realizing now what happened situation. What he did, the defenders rushed outside and fought the pirates hand in hand. That is defenders. And then afterwards, a few minutes later, the the pirates lay dead. But two of the squadron had perished as well. The captain was also wounded. So while the remaining defenders buried the dead, and the doctor made his way off into the woods. That is on a secret plan. So Jim too had an idea. Then with the darkness approaching, he armed himself with a pistol and slipped away into the shadows. Then he made his way to the seashore where he found a small homemade boat that Benken had already told him. And the little craft closely resembled a coracle. This is a coracle. This is a coracle. And it was very difficult for him to handle, but he succeeded in paddling it out to the Hispaniola, from which the drunken shouting voices could be heard. So Jim, he wasted no time cutting through the ship's mooring ropes and settling it adrift. By the time the tide was ebbing fast and the current in the channel was very strong, so Jim himself found swept helplessly along with the coracle. Thinking it was as good as dead, he was as good as dead only. So he allowed exhaustion to overcome it and he slept. When he got up that is next morning, then there was a drifting near the island's north coast. So close by that is Hispaniola ship, seemingly deserted, and he hurriedly paddled over to it and chambered aboard. So the next one is on the ship. Jim found the two pirates whose raised voices he had heard that night before, and they had obviously had a fight. One day dead, and the other had a bad wound in his thigh. So Jim made his way and steered the ship. Jim steered the ship to the north of the island. The pirate who was wounded sprang at him, and Jim shot him dead. And Jim was happy that he captured the ship and was in a safe. Then he made his way to Stockade, where to his surprise, Long John Silver greeted him to join because the doctor had given the map to them, and the Stockade also he handed over to them only. So Long John Silver he had that stockade in his possession. So Long John Silver compelled him to join the pirates on his as his friends had deserted him, but Jim refused. And he wanted the pirates to know that it was he who uncovered their plot. He revealed everything so far what had happened, what he did to them. Long John, the other pirates got angry, but they were about to kill him. But Long John Silver wanted to use him as a live hostage than a dead cabin boy. Then Long John Silver was prepared to surrender to Captain Smollett on one condition that if he were given the promise of a lenient treatment. Then the pirates were very angry and gave Long John Silver and that is they scolded. They gave Long John Silver the black spot, and Long John Silver yelled at them. Dr. Lisa appeared under a flag of truce and treated the wounded men and others who were suffering from malaria. And they allowed Doctor to talk to Jim. And Jim told all about the ship. That is, he had taken the possession of the ship. And Doctor appreciated him for finding Bengan also. And before leaving, he warned Long John to be aware of the quarrels that will take place when they are digging the treasure. And that Jim was puzzled why the doctor had given the pirates both the stockade and the map. And the pirates set off to find the treasure. But Jim was tied to a rope, and he supposed there must be some plan. That is Dr. Livesey is having. And next one is after following the directions of the map, they reached the place and they saw a sun-bleached skeleton and heard a song. There's 15 men on a dead man's chest. And they were terrified and they stopped dead because they thought ghost was singing. But Long John Silver told ghost voice won't be echoed. So he told them to keep their search ahead. The pirates reached the exact place where a giant tree was there and Captain Flint had buried the treasure. Long John was very happy, but the pirates were disappointed as they found a gaping hole under the tree, which was due to several months ago. That is, they started digging with their bare hands, but found empty. So they got angry and accused John and Jim for the treachery. Suddenly, gunshots rang out. Two of the pirates were dead, and the three ran for their lives. So, Doctor and Squire Bengun, three stepped out of a nearby undergrowth And the doctor told Jim and Long John's that Ben only holding the pirates with his ghostly song. So they went to Ben Gunn's cave where Captain Smollett was recovering. Then Ben Gunn had already taken the treasure to his cave, so he gave the pirates. So he gave the pirates the map and the stockade, which were of no use. Next few days, they loaded the ship all treasures, and they had to sail to nearby Spanish Americans to take more men. The three surviving pirates were left on the island only. On reaching the mainland, more crew were taken. Then Long John slipped off board, taking some 400 in coins. The journey was smooth. The expedition's survivors all received an ample share of the treasure. So the last Jim, he never had the urge to go to sea again, especially not to Treasure Island. Although then it was said that some of the treasure still remained undug there. That is his worst nightmares. He would dream of the surf breaking over the island's rocks and Captain Flint's shrill cry, pieces of eight. So this children, like this story got ended. Thank you.